Right.
And it's not that actually Milan was lacking of offensive players, offensive midfielders. It is true they didn't sign anybody in January in defense. Rami was signed back in September already. The thing is that the reason why Seedorf especially has been hired, because he got this total football mind, total football attitude, that it is exactly what Berlusconi wants back for his Milan. Basically, what Berlusconi wants is starting everything new, as he did with Arrigo Sacchi. So someone that he will defend, that's why I was not buying that cover page, that story. Someone that would bring that idea of football, a kind of Dutch football, and actually, eventually is Dutch, and doing it in a proper way with no fear to start everything all over. Was the point in that when Berlusconi hired Sacchi, that was a Mr. Nobody, then he also signed for him Van Basten, Gullit, and then lately Rijkaard.
Right.
So they are saying, fine with the tactics, but you also need the interpreters for that tactic.
Absolutely. You need to buy some big-name players. Well, they do have quite a star-studded lineup tonight as they take on Bologna, who, for their part, have a top scorer with 4 goals to his name so far, Cornet. So we shall see what happens then. Time now to join our commentators for Milan against Bologna. They are Tony Dorigo and, first of all, Adam Summerton.
Well, thank you, James. Good evening, everyone. Approaching 8:45 in Milan. Friday night football at the San Siro. Milan and Bologna kicking off the Serie A weekend. A matchup that produced 6 goals in a 3-3 draw earlier this season. Bologna with something of a score to settle, having been 3-1 up at home with 2 minutes to go in that game. Let's take a look at the team news then. Lots of talking points in Clarence Seedorf's team selection. 5 changes from the 11 that started at Napoli. Kevin Constant, a surprise inclusion at left-back. Zapata and Honda returned from injury and illness, respectively. Montolivo and Kaká promoted from the bench, while Adel Taarabt, on loan from QPR, makes his home debut for the Rossoneri. Well, having recorded his first league win as Bologna coach against Torino, no surprise to see Davide Ballardini name an unchanged starting 11. Jonathan Cristaldo, the star of the show last weekend, bagging himself a brace. René Cahin, no stranger to the San Siro. The Slovenian international began life in Italy at Internazionale. Well, Milan, of course, with plenty of work to do, and quickly, they start the weekend 7 points behind Inter, who occupy the final European spot in the Serie A table. They're a huge 18 points behind Napoli in the final Champions League place. Survival, Bologna's only priority, and they have a chance tonight to go 7 points clear of the relegation zone, with the sides around them not playing until Sunday. Our venue, of course, the Stadio Giuseppe Meazza, to give it its full title. And the referee this evening is Mauro Bergonzi, the top-flight referee since 2003, actually retired as an international official at the end of December. There are the 2 skippers, Montolivo of Milan and Perez of Bologna. In fact, he's only just taken on that role, Perez, after the departure of Diamanti to the Chinese Super League. There's Davide Ballardini, appointed by Bologna on the 8th of January, after agreeing a 6-month contract to replace Stefano Pioli, who'd been in charge since October of 2011 at Bologna. Been asked to do a similar role, really, that he did at Genoa last season. Ballardini in keeping them up, and Clarence Seedorf looking to bounce back from his first Serie A defeat as Milan head coach. 4-time UEFA Champions League winner with 3 different clubs, of course. Ajax, Real Madrid, and twice with Milan. Won 10 major honours in those years as a Milan player between 2002 and 2012. Can he inspire this current crop to restore former glories at the San Siro? It's a big ask, but if anyone can do it, you would think the man they called during his time here as a player, the Professor, should be able to do it. Just about ready for the off. And of course, the Serie A table, with the name Milan nowhere to be seen in the top half, does take some getting used to. Having said that, a win tonight would change that. An opportunity to go 9th in the table, the Clarence Seedorf side. It's far from the thrill of a title challenge, the sort of thing they're used to here, but it's steady progress that's needed at the San Siro right now. It's been a real soap opera this season, more than usual. Of course, for all of Milan's problems, Bologna, in their current predicament, just above the relegation zone, would gladly swap places. Their need for the points, even more pressing, Tony Dorigo.
No, you're exactly right. And of course, beating Torino last week, that was a good fillip for them. They need to put some results together. But of course, so does Clarence Seedorf's Milan, because they really are struggling, not where they're used to being. So the expectations are always high.
Fascinating to see the performance tonight, of course, of Mario Balotelli. Yet again, on the back pages after those tears on the bench, having been substituted during that defeat at Napoli, a game which, of course, Milan started so well. 1-0 up after 9 minutes. Adel Taarabt scoring on his debut, but really were rather outclassed in the end by Rafael Benitez's Napoli. 2 goals from Higuain, a wonderful assist as well for the second from Gökhan Inler, who scored a beauty himself, actually. Here's Montalivo. Right here for Kevin Constant, Guinea international, making only his 10th Serie A appearance of the season. Balotelli. Perez. This is Cristaldo. Really looking to seize on the opportunity, of course, that he's been given through the middle now with the departure of Diamanti, and grabbed that opportunity with both hands at Torino.
Well, that's what he needs to do. And he has started pretty well, hasn't he? But Diamanti, of course, their top goal scorer, leaving. Leaves them fairly short in the goal stakes. Bianchi, of course, is playing tonight. 3 goals, and that's about it. Now, if they're going to stay up, they need to score.
Milan, of course, with a mouth-watering Champions League tie against Atletico coming up on Wednesday. Will surely have to win that competition to play in it again next season, the way things are looking right now. Played forward here by Taarabt. Christodoulopoulos quite get there before Vigilio. Of course, another game going on tonight in Paris, in France. PSG against Valenciennes. That one kicked off at 7:30, and there has already been a goal in that one. And it's come from the Argentine Lavezzi, the free kick from Ibrahimovic, and Lavezzi there to gobble up the opportunity from close range. PSG with the opportunity to go 8 points clear at the top of Ligue 1 tonight. Here's Constant.
It's great play, isn't it, from Taarabt? Garich there, trying to close him down, get a nice tackle on him. Instead, he just pokes it through his legs, and certainly a play with plenty of ability, plenty of skill. Can Milan get the best out of him on a consistent basis? I think that's the problem with a player like Adel Taarabt. Great ability. You see it, unfortunately, far too infrequent.
It's not one for understatement. Declared himself the Balotelli of Morocco, and he's signed for Milan. Constant. Montalivo eventually getting that right. There is Taarabt. Montalivo has to shoot by the crowd, and it's well held by the goalkeeper Corci. Forward towards Rolando Bianchi.
A big old lump, isn't he, Bianchi? In the right areas, he will certainly be able to win those. But there you can see Montalivo didn't start it wide enough. Corci comfortably caught that one.
Well, this is a fixture that's tended to go Milan's way and beaten in their last 10 league matches against Bologna, dating back to August of 2008. That run so nearly ended in the reverse fixture back in September, though. Bologna 3-1 up, 2 minutes to go. Denied victory by late goals from Robinho and Abate. Here's Vigilio. Support from Kaká. On the two. It's Vigilio once more. They've worked this well, Milan, but it's wrong side of Mario Balotelli.
Montalivo there just trying to tell Adel Taarabt as well to come in, of course, when the ball is on the other side. Your wide man. You have to try and trap that back post as well.
Rami. Constant. We're led to believe, certainly reports in the Italian media, that Constant had the opportunity to move on loan to Napoli during the January transfer window. His agent saying that he was only interested in a permanent move, though. Of course, a club like Milan, and transfer speculation about the potential comings and goings is almost constant, if you excuse the pun.
I'm not sure I can.
Here's Balotelli.
But I think you're right, certainly come this summer, my goodness, there'll be some players going in, players going out. And that's what Clarence Seedorf will be hoping to get to that point of the season, certainly higher than where they are now, in 11th place, and look to attract some real quality players.
Up towards Balotelli and Montolivo for Milan, being hustled and harried by Perez. Bit of space here for Desilio. Supported by Honda, Montolivo calling for it, arms outstretched. Tarat. That's a lovely ball. Players arriving in the middle, one of them was Honda, but it was well read by Gianluca Corci.
He did actually read it well, didn't he? He stepped out, comfortably gathered that, but Constant, that's good play from the left back. A little bit surprised he's playing left back. Desilio swapped to the right back with Abate on the bench. That was a good forward move.
Up towards Bianchi here. Rami defending. This is Cristaldo. He had high praise from the Real Madrid coach, Carlo Ancelotti, this week, Clarence Seedorf. So he has the capacity and the knowledge to do everything in the world of football. In fact, they've been queuing up the big names, really, to praise Clarence Seedorf this week. So Prandelli, the Italian head coach, was very complimentary too. Reportedly had a meeting at Silvio Berlusconi's villa during the week as well, Clarence Seedorf, where they talked about the future of Milan. Berlusconi apparently wanting to show his faith in his new coach. Here's Cristaldo, who rather ran straight into Rami. It was a well-timed challenge by the French international. Now finds Desilio. Lovely control by Kaká. Balotelli. Desilio. 4 inside the penalty area here. There's a good leap inside the area by Natali. Bianchi. Running beyond him is Cristaldo. He's waited for support to arrive through Christodoulopoulos. Promising this for Bologna. 20 forward. Garhin.
I think you can see already what is going to be important for Bologna, that Bianchi does hold it up. He actually held it up really well there, got support. Of course, then the attack slows right down. Milan can get back inside, back behind the ball, and defend quite comfortably.
Kaká. Honda. Really intelligent run forward here by Desilio. It's a really well-timed challenge to deny his progress, though, from Moleo.
Needs to be wary, Moleo, because certainly Desilio in the first 10 minutes of this game is tearing down the right-hand side. Seems to be plenty of gaps there.
He's so highly rated at Milan. Mattia Desilio, at the club since the age of 10. Joined them in 2002, born in Milan. Still just 21 years old. Christodoulopoulos, who's dispossessed here by Nigel de Jong. Montolivo. Tarat Really does seem to be enjoying his new surroundings at the San Siro. Taarabt. So different, of course, to the circumstances he would have been in at QPR, a championship promotion race. If he does have to end up going back to Loftus Road, it will feel very different, I should imagine.
Just a little. What a move it is for him, but it's a chance for him to kickstart his career and to show what he can do.
He's already said that he wants to stay in Milan. That's a good ball over, and it had to be cut out. It was. Christodoulouopoulos towards Cristaldo. Again, Rami's there first for Milan.
I'm sure he tried to actually kick it against the striker there, but slightly missed. I'm sure Adel Taarabt wants to stay in Milan. Of course, it's all going to be how he performs. Simple as that. And he started really well with that goal. Already tonight, looks very comfortable on the ball, but I think we know that. We know that side to him. It's the other side, I think, Milan especially. Looking at those three across the pitch there behind Balotelli as well. Honda, Taarabt, Kaká. Against big sides, I think that's where their issue is defensively. Really diligently tracking back.
Honda. Deschilio. Colston. Milan really have shared the goals about this season. Talking of Adel Taarabt, who was their 16th different goal scorer of the campaign. More than any other club. Certainly will fancy their chances of goals tonight too, the Rossoneri. Up against a Bologna side that really hasn't solved its defensive problems of last season. They've conceded 39 goals so far this campaign. Only the bottom three, Livorno, Sassuolo and Catania, have conceded more. Montalivo. Neat turn by Taarabt, even though he was actually caught by Garic.
Well, Garic was late there, wasn't he? But again, he just lets the ball run across his body, Taarabt, and it's a great piece of skill. Good to see him as he stay on his feet as well. It certainly was a foul. Didn't get the advantage, so free kick.
Taken quickly. In towards Zaccardo. A shot by Montalivo. Balotelli on the rebound. Hits it into the ground.
Gets it all wrong, doesn't he? Montalivo's an excellent strike. Courtesy just put his hands up in the air to try and stop it any old how. But you expect certainly when it comes back to Mario in these sorts of positions, the left foot gets it all wrong.
Of course, wasn't able to score, was only ever on the edge of the game against Napoli and substituted after the 73rd minute. But before that, he'd scored in 4 successive games, so he has been in form. Chance to shoot from distance, and it's well held by Abbiati. The effort from Perez.
Decent, a long way out. At least they've tested Abbiati.
He's only actually kept 4 clean sheets so far this season. Abbiati. It's a defence that's really been settled, really, for Milan. Neither under Allegri or Seedorf, really. A mixture of poor form from some individuals and, of course, injuries playing their parts here. But you would think, from Abbiati's point of view, so important that he can get a settled back four at some point.
No, most certainly. The correct decision there. Good yard offside, but it is important to get some sort of understanding, especially when the goal's starting to go in, at least with a back four that you know, work with. You can work on them, but it keeps changing around. It is disappointing. Mek says this time is the one to drop out from the last game. Don't think we've seen him at his best this season.
I should mention as well, actually, that the official team news told us that Christian Zapata would be in the side, and that was the case right up until kick-off. But you will have noticed, certainly the eagle-eyed amongst you will have realised that it's actually Zaccardo who's partnering Rami now in central defence. Can only presume a late injury problem for Zapata, who was coming back from injury.
Which is exactly what they don't need. Big games on the horizon. Atletico Madrid.
Looked on here towards Bianchi. Abbiati alive to the danger. De Jong. That match against Atletico Madrid coming up midweek in the Champions League, as Tony Dorigo mentioned. So much excitement in Milan at the prospect of course, the return to the city of Diego Simeone. He's not done bad in management, has he?
Not bad at all. Who could believe that he could produce a side that can challenge, if not get the better of the big two, Real Madrid and Barcelona in Spain. So yeah, I mean, I think he's built a wonderful side, talented players, and it's going to be very tough for Milan. I think Milan have done fantastic to reach this sort of point, but the pressure on them certainly to go further because they are AC Milan is great.
Simeone part of an Inter side that won the UEFA Cup, spearheaded by the Brazilian Ronaldo back in the 90s. Milan's record in the Champions League really is fantastic. Haven't been knocked out in the group stage since the 99-2000 season, when they finished bottom of the group containing Chelsea, Hertha Berlin and Galatasaray. But they perhaps this season have saved some of their best football for that competition.
Because it hasn't been in Serie A. Because they have been poor, let's be honest. They really have put in some wretched performances.
Montalivo, plenty forward in this attack for the Rossoneri. Honda. Still looking for his first Serie A goal, the Japanese international. In the way of that was Smolea. Certainly trying to exert his own style on the team. Clarence Seedorf says, we want to win and we want to do it convincingly, playing an intense brand of football. It's going to take some time to implement his ideas.
And I think not only implement his ideas, but get the players that can play in those sorts of positions and the way that he wants to play. So I'm sure this 11 that are out on the pitch won't be the ones that starting the following season. I'm sure he'll bring in 2 or 3, 4 players, exactly what's required. But of course, once you do manage a club like this, you have to hit the ground running and get results.
Got it from Constant. Interesting looking back on the starting 11 for Milan in the final game of the 2010-2011 season. The last season, of course, that they won the title. Some of the names in that side, including Seedorf himself, Cassano, Flamini, Boateng, Van Bommel, Abate, Thiago Silva, Pato. Ibrahimovic didn't play but was at the club at the time. It's been some turnaround, hasn't it, in terms of the playing staff?
It has been very difficult, and Massimiliano Allegri is probably the one that has taken the most brunt of that changes, because he's expected to produce a side challenging at the top when you're selling all your best players. So a bit of sympathy for him, but of course he did seem to then not get the best out of what he had. And that's why Clarence Seedorf is here, trying to do the same.
Taarabt, one of the new arrivals in January. Nigel de Jong. Rami. De Chilio. De Jong. Montalivo always available. Rami. Zaccardo. De Chilio. Plenty behind the ball here for Bologna. It's Kaká. They have to try and pick the lock here, Milan. Taarabt. It's a moment of quality as Taarabt is brought down right in front of the referee's nose by Perez.
And down he goes spectacularly. And Perez only blocked him off slightly, but I think with plenty of possession they had, Milan going to have to be careful with the ball. Try and really attack them a lot quicker, because they do wait, they do take too long. Bologna get plenty of men back behind the ball. Again, it's great skill going for a 1-2. Perez knows exactly what he's doing. In a dangerous area. Whip it in between the penalty spot, 6-yard spot. Let's see if we can get some quality delivery here.
Well, we all know that man's ability from a dead ball. No surprise to see Mario Balotelli stood over this with Constant there as well for Milan. In the 20th minute at the San Siro, as Balotelli swings it in towards Rami. Up and under inside the area. Dealt with well by Bologna. The clearance in the end by Moleo. De Chilio goes back to Abbiati.
We see Moleo. Yes, it did touch his arm, but you'd be a bit concerned if they start being given. I've been put up for a foul most games. That was just unfortunate, but Milan now with plenty of possession. Yes, they're controlling the game quite comfortably, but end product, where is it? Not really got in behind them yet to produce that ball. Of course, Balotelli up there on his own, going to have 2 or 3 defenders around him, playing with a back 3. Bologna to expect that. So midfield must be the area ready to try and, as you said, unlock this defence.
Balotelli with the best chance of the game so far, could only hit it into the ground. So important for Milan that their home form is good, because they've been anything but reliable on the road, beaten 6 times away from home this season, conceding 2 goals per game on average away from home, Milan. And it's the reason that they start tonight in the lower half of the table, which is just remarkable to see, really, for a club of this size, isn't it?
It certainly is, and if you look at those away performances as well, if you put any other shirt on them, you'd think, well, this is a struggling side, but this is AC Milan, and you can't quite believe it, but they haven't been able to control midfield. Their defence has been poor, giving away goals, and up front they've had so many injuries and changes, it's been difficult. So all in all, they find themselves in the 11th position. 1 or 2 players missing. Rubinho, of course, tonight. El Shaarawy just hasn't got going this season whatsoever. Great young striker, but not seen enough of him with his injuries. It's been tough.
Well, they'll be desperate to get El Shaarawy, the Pharaoh as he's known, back as soon as possible. Has had foot surgery, is expected back in training, we're told, in April. He was saying this week that he feels he's been dogged by bad luck in the last year or so. Big fan of Clarence Seedorf, though, and he thinks that he can do great things at the club, although he also added that in an interview that he owes a lot to Max Allegri. Still only 21, El Shaarawy. Plenty more time for him to make his mark at the San Siro. Leo forward to take the throw in here for Bologna. Oh, it's a good header and a fine save by Abbiati. Cahin on target there for Bologna.
It's a great run as well. He timed his run perfectly, Cahin. Certainly going into the top corner. Abbiati saw it all the way. Excellent save, but that is better. Getting a forward run from midfield with 5 in midfield. It is important. They support the crosses as soon as they can. And here he arrived just on time. Great header.
First time that Abbiati has been called into action in this game. Christodoulopoulos with the corner. Montolivo leaves it for Abbiati. Heard the shout, the captain. Well, Milan, in terms of possession, in the first 22 minutes, utterly dominant, but as Tony Dorigo had already pointed out, hadn't really hurt Bologna at all with that possession. Hadn't offered very much at all in the final third, and suddenly Bologna agonisingly close to taking the lead.
And that's what can happen. Yes, you can have all the ball in midfield that you like, but if you take too long getting it forward, 10 men behind the ball, and they become tough to break down. But got to watch on the break as well. I think set pieces certainly going to be important for Bologna. They wasted one there, but the previous attack was excellent.
Kaká. Constant goes beyond him. Adel Taarabt's calling for it and gets it. Saw the run of Balotelli, but couldn't squeeze it through to the Italian international. De Sciglio, who was found by Montolivo. That chance for Bologna sparked Milan into life here. Constant. Kaká. Shake off the attentions of Gadic. It's rather crowded out in the end. Kaká, and it's tidied up by Christodoulopoulos. Now Constant. Given away rather cheaply to Montolivo. Honda. Just need to pick up the pace here, Milan. De Sciglio. Kaká and Balotelli wait for any ball over. It's Kaká with the header. Chested back by Gadic, who's the calmest man in the San Siro.
Well, that was good defending in the end. Just chesting it back to his goalkeeper, but again, it's De Sciglio on that right-hand side. He's causing some problems. Bologna has to get a lot closer. He found Kaká well. Not the greatest of headers. That was better. Pazzini, I think, would have gobbled that one up a little bit better.
And of course, he was outstanding last season against Bologna. He scored 5 goals against them in 2 games. Scored 2 at the San Siro in a 2-1 win, and all 3 in a 3-1 win at Bologna. Pazzini has seen opportunities, pretty limited so far this season. 1 goal in 5 league games. That goal that he did score was a crucial one as well. A late winner at Cagliari on the 26th of January. There was some talk actually pre-match that Seedorf is trying to find a way of getting both Pazzini and Balotelli in the same lineup. I think he's very keen to do that, but it's just finding a way in the formation he's decided to go with at Milan to be able to achieve that.
Well, I'd say that'd be pretty difficult, wouldn't it? Because I'm not sure Pazzini can play anywhere but up top. And would Mario be happy playing out wide? I'm not sure he can play, tucked in behind. He's not disciplined enough. So that's going to be a tough one for the manager. That's why I said about getting the right sort of players that can play in the formation that you want to play. And he's just come to the club, so that's not going to happen overnight.
Vasilia. Tadic. Quite aware to begin with that Balotelli was there. 9 goals in Serie A so far this season for Mario Balotelli. That in 17 league games before tonight. Montolivo. Kaká. Taarabt. Can he conjure up here? Immediately surrounded by white shirts, Taarabt. This is Constant. Nigel de Jong, real enforcer in this Milan midfield. Played alongside Michael Essien in Milan's defeat at Napoli. Montolivo back in the side today. De Sciglio. Honda. Left by Zaccardo for Montolivo. Now it's Mario Balotelli. So congested. It's Taarabt. Sat up for him just for a moment. Now maybe the counter-attack. Christodoulopoulos. Once more it was Rami in the way for Milan, but Cristaldo brought down. It'll be a free kick to Bologna.
Waiting to play the advantage. Christodoulopoulos there. You can see de Jong, an arm around him, brought him down. So certainly was a foul, but that's the problem. Milan are trying to go through the middle. So many bodies. 3 centre-halves as well as holding midfielders. They can't. When, of course, they lose the ball, Bologna are breaking at them. Now, they've been great in possession, Bologna. They've been given away very cheaply, hence they've been back in their 18-yard box a lot of the game. But can they do better with that? They could cause Milan 1 or 2 problems.
Cahín. Perez. Mantovani. Here's the Uruguayan Perez again. Could well, of course, come up against England at the forthcoming World Cup with Uruguay. Here's Cahín. How to bring this forward a long way here. Cahín, he's come closest from a Bologna perspective to breaking the deadlock. Christodoulopoulos growing in confidence here, Bologna. Perez worked it well here to Christodoulopoulos. Bianchi waiting in the middle, so was Cristaldo, but the crossover, well, in the circumstances, pretty poor, you'd have to say.
No, it really was, because Morleo there had time and space just to hit the right ball into the box. Bianchi, we know, is a big striker, put it in hard and fast. Instead, it was poor.
Balotelli. Kaká. Honda. Nigel de Jong now for Milan. An intriguing game, albeit one with very few chances to talk of so far. Cahín coming closest for Bologna, forcing a smart save out of Abbiati. Balotelli's ball wide. De Sciglio wins a corner.
Well, Morleo eventually got there, but that was better play, wasn't it? Balotelli spotted De Sciglio. That does seem to be the outball for Milan. Certainly they can get him further up the pitch, but need to do it a lot sooner. That's the problem. At the moment, the tempo a little slow.
We're fast approaching the half-hour mark at the San Siro. Still nothing between Milan and Bologna. First game of the weekend in Serie A. Milan with the opportunity to move into the top half of the table. Rolando Bianchi back defending and doing it well too. Header forward by De Sciglio, and he finds touch.
Well, half hour gone. Bologna, I think, will be quietly pleased. They've certainly settled into the game. Need to get their passing game a little bit better. However, they've defended well in numbers, going deep and leaving not so dangerous players in Milan to have the ball. Let's see if they can actually build on that and move slowly further up the pitch at times to support their strikers.
Just to remind you of the breaking news from the Premier League in the last hour or so, is that the Fulham coach, Rennie Moulenstein, not long in charge, of course, has been relieved of his duties at Craven Cottage. Your view on that one, Tony Doriga?
Certainly very difficult for Rennie, because the players that he had, I think, certainly are a Premier League side that were struggling. He's brought in one or two, haven't really seen the fruits of that. Had some difficult games. The owners decided to have a change. It's certainly difficult, but Clarence Seedorf going to find himself in a similar situation. Had a few games to start with, got to make an immediate difference. Unfortunately, Rennie Moulenstein couldn't. Clarence Seedorf has, at least.
And Felix Magath, of course, the man who will be replacing Rennie Moulenstein at Fulham. He's never managed outside of Germany. And of course, there's already at the club Alan Kirbishley in the director of football role, Ray Wilkins, assistant to Rennie Moulenstein on the bench. It's going to be fascinating to see how that all works out at Fulham. But here at the San Siro, it's Milan with a free kick in a dangerous position here. Big night for Clarence Seedorf. Needs a response from his Milan players after, of course, his first Serie A defeat away at Napoli last weekend. And it's been fairly pedestrian from the Rossoneri so far. And it's Balotelli who'll be taking it, we know that much. Teasing delivery, and it's been spilt. And it was a real chance for Zaccardo, but the whistle goes.
Well, I'm not sure if it was offside or an actual foul against the keeper, but Kurci there got into all sorts of problems. But the ball in is given for offside. That is inches. And it's Zaccardo who is the one that then follows the ball. So the referee's assistant is correct. However, Balotelli actually delayed the ball. The runs were made, they had to stop. Poor delivery.
He didn't look completely at ease at all times in the win at Torino, actually, Gianluca Kurci. Goalkeeper, of course, who was relegated with Sampdoria back in 2011 and ever present. He's played every minute of this campaign for Bologna. It's Kaká with Balotelli inside the area. Honda was there too. It's just that final ball that keeps letting Milan down.
It certainly does, but it's better ball from Taarabt at least. He took one touch and then a quick pass in, and that's what they need to do. Move it quickly. Don't take 3, 4, 5 touches. So I think then the space goes. Bologna coming here really just to survive, I suppose, the first half of the game, and then see if they can build from there. At the moment, they're doing a pretty good job.
Well, the FA Cup takes centre stage this weekend on BT Sport. 3 fifth-round ties to look forward to. Sunderland against Southampton tomorrow at midday on BT Sport 1. And then, how about this? Arsenal against Liverpool, Sunday at 3:15 on BT Sport 1. And then on Monday night at 7 o'clock, also on BT Sport 1, from the South Coast, it's Brighton against Hull City, those all fifth-round ties. Remember, you can enjoy the action also by the BT Sport app and at btsport.com. Balotelli looks wide for Bershilia. Throwing conceded by Mollea. And you'd have to say that defensively, Bologna have looked very organised and not a side that has conceded all those goals that I mentioned earlier. 39 so far this season. Here's Taarabt into the feet of Balotelli. Just try to up the pace there in finding Honda. Now it's Rami. Zaccardo. Montoliva. Milan being forced backwards.
They are, but we're not sure about the Bologna defence. They've been put under enough pressure. Now, we know they're not good. You would have thought Milan at home start nice and quick, high tempo, and really ask them questions. Haven't really asked enough.
Balotelli. Taarabt. Kaká. Balotelli's shot. And Bologna hoping that their Impressive win at Torino proves to be a base on which to build. Their form far from inspiring. Not only the club's second win in 14 matches, the other against Genoa just before Christmas. Still 4 sides below them in the table: Chievo, Livorno, Sassuolo and Catania. Virgilio now for Milan. Moves by Antonsson. This is Honda.
And even if Antonsson missed it, Natali was there as well. There's not enough men forward for Milan in those sort of areas. The 3 centre-halves at Bologna at the moment, playing pretty well, well organised, working together nicely.
Adel Taarabt. Kaká. Balotelli tangling with Natali. He's become such an important player at the heart of that Bologna defence. Cesare Natali, player who's actually been relegated twice with Atalanta, and Torino's in his second spell with Bologna. Rami back to Abbiati here. Virgilio. Determined play by Molea, trying to dispossess Zaccardo, and thought the throw-in should have gone his way. Here's Montalivo. Instant control by Kaká, who's just ushered off the ball. Taarabt. Constant makes a run into the area, wasn't seen though, and this is Balotelli. Kaká. Cristaldo has really had to feed off scraps so far. Here Bologna forward. Strong challenge coming in by Perez, who then just pushes Cristaldo out of the way. Molea. Now De Jong for Milan. Adel Taarabt. Chance to run at Gadic. Balotelli. Trying to find the room for the shot, but it didn't happen for Mario Balotelli, and it's not happening generally for Milan. Now have some defending to do. Great forward here by Molea. Cristaldo at least made Abbiati work.
Good effort as well. Cut inside, wasn't too many in support of him. But really, Milan, there's no variation to their play whatsoever. And sometimes you just need to put the ball into the box, get the defenders turning. Instead, Balotelli wants to drop off into that area just outside the 18-yard box, but there's 2, 3, 4 players around him. There's no space whatsoever.
Stoppage here. Quite clear what it's for. There's what it's for. Quite clear how that happened. I'm sure we'll get to see. It's certainly a rarity. Can you imagine caught off the ball by a player? Well, it's the ball. And that strong challenge by Perez. Well, in fairness to the referee, Mauro Bergonzi barely flinched.
He took it well, didn't he? He took it well. I would suggest one of the players, if that happened to him, would be down on the deck. Let's hope he's okay, but at least Clarence Seedorf has an opportunity to talk to his players to try and instill 1 or 2 instructions to them, because at the moment their style, the system is not really working to their favour, playing with enough tempo.
Some really interesting things to say in his pre-match press conference, Clarence Seedorf, when asked about Mario Balotelli, talking about the fact that he used the word champion. He said Balotelli isn't a champion yet, but I know he's got it in him to be one, and I feel as though I'm the manager to get that out of him.
Well, I think certainly when he turned up in January previous season, he was absolutely on fire, scored a load of goals and everything was fine. Of course, you can't keep that sort of form up all the time. It was great for Italy as well, but he's had a bit of a dip in form. Of course, the team aren't playing with a lot of confidence either, but strikers like him as we see the way that he's playing, his blood's still coming out of the referees. He'll have to change his shirt, I think. He can't continue like that. He'll have to book himself.
I'm just amazed at the way he didn't flinch. I can only presume might have done some amateur boxing at one stage or another. Well, despite the fact that, of course, his side have rarely threatened the Milan goal, by and large, Davide Ballardini must be pretty happy with the way things have gone so far at the San Siro, a place that he knows well. He, in the early days of his coaching career, was a coach in the Milan Academy. Bologna, the 7th club he's managed since his first head coach role in 2004. 3 different spells as Cagliari head coach and 2 at Genoa in amongst all of that. Also had a short spell at Lazio, with whom he won the Supercoppa Italiana in 2009, and still the coming out of that cut on the referee's lip. Tarat in the final 5 minutes of the first half, but of course there would be a little bit of added on time due to that injury stoppage brought about by that cut to the referee's lip. Here's Kaká, Zaccardo, De Sciglio, Honda. It's a decent delivery, but again it's cut out, that time by Antonsson. Nigel de Jong, Constant, Tarat, Honda. It's Montolivo to have a go, and it was watched all the way by Gianluca Corci.
I don't think it was the best of strikes, also hit into the ground, but difficult bouncing ball for the keeper. That's exactly right, though. We see it bouncing up nicely. Maybe going just in or just wide by the looks of things. Keeper didn't know, had to get a touch. Good save.
There has been something of a shoot-on-sight policy tonight from Riccardo Montolivo. Tarat, really busy inside that Bologna penalty area. Bologna still with only 4 league wins all season, split equally between home and away games. Their wins on the road coming at Cagliari, 3-0, and of course last time out, 2-1 at Torino.
Not looking happy, is he, Mario? Neither is he.
And apparently, Adriano Galliani was present at that meeting I mentioned earlier this week at Silvio Berlusconi's villa with Clarence Seedorf. And they were discussing the way forward for Milan. Of course, we had the whole saga with Galliani this season as well, with whether he would be staying or going. First he was going, then he was staying. He got very emotional. A free kick here for Bologna as we enter the last couple of minutes of the first half. This is in a dangerous position as well.
Now, these sorts of areas, it is important that they make the most of them. They're not going to be in this last third too often, but when they do, take their time, set pieces, put the centre-halves forward. Good delivery. Still leading the referee. He's going to need some patch-up work at half-time.
Concentration at the back, absolutely key here for Milan. Well, the shot wasn't the greatest in the end, was it, from Christodoulouopoulos? And you'd imagine that Davide Ballardini down on the Bologna bench will be absolutely furious with that, because that sort of situation Bologna will have to make the most of, won't they?
Christodoulouopoulos, what are you doing? For goodness sake, you've committed a load of men up from the back as well. You've finally got another opportunity to at least put a dangerous ball in the box, and he just scuffs it wide from 35 yards out. Never going to beat Abiata from there.
Constant. De Sciglio. Honda. Title winner in Russia last season. Towards Kaká, just above him. Just reach Adel Tarat though. That's lovely skill. And make the room for the shot. Quickly closed down by Kakim. Montalivo reorganised his feet brilliantly. Kaká in towards Mario Balotelli. Back now for Kevin Constant. Had a clear by Christodoulopoulos.
Great defending from Anderson there. The ball was really good. Trying to do it a lot quicker and get it in there, but defender just got his leg in the way.
Kaká. Free kick goes in favour of Perez and Bologna as we head into the 2 minutes to be added on.
Perez there just gets his body in the way and he's rightly fouled. Eat up a few more seconds and get themselves to half-time. Bologna, they'll be delighted coming through this. I'm sure they wouldn't have expected it to be so easy at the moment because just the tempo isn't there on this Milan side.
Constant. Adel Taarabt, who's, I have to say, one of Milan's most likely sources of inspiration. And a rather lacklustre performance so far from the Rossoneri.
No, I think the individual skill that Taarabt has been shown has been absolutely superb, and I always say there need to be some sort of end product. Well, at times there has been from Taarabt, and he looks like a player at least that can change things out there. There's not many of them.
I wonder if the news had reached him before kick-off that his former manager, Rennie Moulenstein, parted company with Fulham. Here is Taarabt. Darting run by Mario Balotelli. Montalivo. Space wide here for De Sciglio. Surely the last act of the first half. And the cross is far too deep, and well, that pretty much sums up the first half from Milan's point of view.
Yes, disappointing. De Sciglio has been decent down that right-hand side, but there had an opportunity again with plenty of time. Leo's slow out to him. All he could do was overhit the pass.
Well, if you are just joining us and wondering why the referee is dabbing his lip, it's because the ball hit him in the face, and he'll be glad to get off at half-time to get that sorted out, the referee. Well, the first half of very few chances at the San Siro. Goalless at the break. We'll have the half-time thoughts next of Tancredi, Palmieri and James Richardson.
Sponsored by Bet365.
OK, back in 2. Right, quick. I bet you can't hit the FA Cup from there.
I won the European Player of the Year about 12 years ago. You never lose it, mate. You never lose it. Oh, so close. He's a fat